People of color making an impact in new media and technology. Digital diversity.
Hi there, I am Lauren Thomas, and this is Digital Diversity, where we highlight people of color who are really making an impact in new media and technology. You may have seen our guest today on CNN. He is a financial lifestyle coach, an author, a speaker, and an entrepreneur who is really passionate about helping other people journey from where they are to where they really want to be in business and in life. He's appeared on CNN over 400 times, and he's spoken at events, colleges, and conferences all over the country. He's the author of the book, What Had Happened Was, and he's actively using his presence, both online and offline, to inform, educate, and empower other people financially. So, Clyde Anderson, thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thank you for having me. This is great.
I'm excited to have you on set. I know that you're doing an amazing job building your brand and empowering other people, and I really want to explore how you're doing it and why you're doing it.
Wow, that's a great question. You know, I got pulled into it. I didn't know what it would turn into. I wrote the book, ended up getting on CNN, and all this stuff sort of happened. And before I knew it, I was thrust into a position where I had to figure out what to do next. No one really tells you now what. You know, this is what we do next. And everybody used to tell me, go get a PR person. So I thought that was the first thing you did, was get a PR person. So I went through about 3 or 4 different PR people, and it still wasn't hidden. I still wasn't connecting with people. And that's what I wanted to really be able to do, is connect with people. And I got on Facebook first and started developing and building a Facebook, and I had a friend of mine, and we would have a challenge. Let's get 1,000 friends on Facebook. And that was the first thing. And so when we started doing that, I just really started talking to people, and I've always been a people person. So I love the engagement. And the more I did it, it became sort of a family. You know, we became this unit. People would tell me their problems. I would see if I could help. I would connect them to different people. And it began to grow. And as I was doing that, I would start putting out these messages, and I started using Facebook sort of as a focus group. And so I would put out things and just sort of test the waters and see what works, what doesn't work, what people were going through, what they were thinking about. And because I'm talking about money most of the time, I would just sort of craft my messages around financial issues and things that they were dealing with. And it worked. And a friend said, you need to go to Twitter. And I'm like, no, I don't understand Twitter. It just seems like a lot of noise. And Facebook had become my comfort zone. And I got to the point where I had built up 5,000 followers on Facebook, and they wouldn't let me get any more friends. And so I said, okay, you know, one day I'll try it. And I got on Twitter and fell in love with Twitter. I learned how to quiet the noise. I learned how to filter it and make it work. And I noticed it was a big networking event that was always going on.
Right.
And I loved it. And so from there, we just continued to grow and engage it. And I noticed that, you know, as I shared the stuff that I was doing, it became more and more intentional. But at the same time, it was a relaxed feeling. It wasn't something like work to do. It was just connecting to my people. And I've been able to use that and leverage it to build up relationships that I never would have had if I never would have gotten on Twitter or been on Facebook.
Wow, so you're using Facebook as your focus group.
Yes.
And then you had to step out of your comfort zone to try Twitter, but it's really working for you.
It's one of the most amazing tools. I think there's several, you know, great tools out there as it relates to social media, but Twitter for me has been just a thing that just takes it to another level. I really focused on having a plan to develop it. And it's funny because I still hear people that say, well, Twitter is just people telling you what they're getting ready to do.
What they have for breakfast.
What they have for breakfast, what's next. I'm like, you're missing it. If this is all you think it is, you're missing it. This is where it's happened, and this is where people are connecting. I've gotten contracts from Facebook and Twitter. I've gotten business opportunities that I never would have had. I've spoken at colleges because someone saw what I did on Twitter. Right. You know, one of my favorite stories is that we were in New York, and I was doing a piece for CNN in New York. And I was tweeting that I was doing it. Someone from ABC saw that I was tweeting that I was there near their studio, so they tweeted me and said, would you like to come over here and do a piece? Then Canadian television said the same thing, and we're shooting in ABC studio. Can you do something for us while you're there?
Wow.
Just because I tweeted it. And so, you know, it's so much more than just saying what you're doing. It's just a matter of really a way to connect with people all over the world that you probably would have never met.
So you're using it not to just play around on social media, but you're making business deals, you're getting press appearances, your engagement online.
Yes, I'm getting all those things plus, you know, so much more. It's last year I started a tour called the Wealth Movement Tour. And what I would do is start engaging people that showed interest to the things that I was talking about. And they would introduce me to their pastor or some other organization. So then I began to get paid speaking opportunities. I would connect and go to those cities from that relationship that I got on Twitter. So I would strategically go through and say, these are the cities I want to go to, and see who's in my circle that's already in Baltimore,
Love it.
who's already in New York, who's already in these places. You know, you can't, this is free publicity, this is free connection, this is networking without leaving your home or, using your phone. But I don't think people really see the value until they get on there and start doing it. So you just got to start.
You've got to invest to make it work for you.
You do.
So this is where you are right now. Let's back way up and talk about how you got here. Okay. So what did you go to college and what did you study?
Okay. I am originally from Detroit, Michigan. Came to Clark Atlanta University, and I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I never knew what that really looked like, so I started selling candy in front of my apartment building right off of 8 Mile Road when I was like 7, 8. And, who could turn down a little boy selling candy on a TV stand, I had a TV tray and I got my candy set up. See, it works. Right around time when I get home from work, I'd have it there and I would do that. I did that for a while. I liked the idea. I remember when I made $20 and I had $20 in ones and I thought this was it.
I'm rich.
I am rich. I did it, and so after that, I got a paper route when I was 11, and it became one of the biggest paper routes sort of in that area where I would take over different blocks, and I had people working for me. And I would have them work my paper route. But it was so big that I could afford to pay them. And, they would collect. I'd pay a couple of my buddies, and they would help. And I got the bug, so I wanted to do it. And I had a cousin that had a business when I was a teenager, and he let me work with him sometimes. So I kind of got to see it a little bit. And so I wanted to be an entrepreneur. You go to school, I thought you major in business. Mm-hmm. And they didn't teach me how to be an entrepreneur by majoring in business. And, so I went and all my friends were interviewing with companies and I was the one I don't want to interview with any companies. I went to college and, I did what I did, but I still want to be an entrepreneur. So I started different little ventures and none really worked in college. And it wasn't until my senior year I had a class called Entrepreneurship and Enterprise with Dr. Dennis Kimbrough. And it changed my life, totally changed everything from the perspective of this is how. I knew what it was, kind of what it looked like and what I wanted to do, but I didn't know how to do it. He showed me how to develop a plan of action of if this is what you want to do, this is how you do it. And it was my favorite. I mean, Dr. Dennis Kimbrough changed, my whole thought process of what was possible. And then I read a book, Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun? And it talked about Reginald Lewis. And Reginald Lewis was one of the first black billionaires, something I didn't even know was possible. And so being inspired by that sort of, those things, those became my mentors. Dennis Kimbrough became my mentor. I Think and Grow Rich, The Black Choice. And, then I got into Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. And all those things helped kind of frame my perspective. And I got out of college, didn't know what kind of venture I wanted to get into when I fell into the mortgage business when I was 23. And I started doing loans, but growing up, I was never taught about credit.
Right.
So we never had those conversations about credit and personal finance. Grew up in a single parent household. My mother and I just didn't talk about that stuff. And now I'm in the mortgage business and I have to learn, if I want to help other people, I'm 100% commission. It's either sink or swim. Mm-hmm. So I had to learn how to do loans. And I was in an office where I was throwing all the stuff that everybody else didn't want to do. The, challenge credit and all these things. So I learned how to fix situations. And I trained and educated a lot of people. And by the time I was 23, 24, I probably made more money than anybody in my family.
Wow.
And then by the time I was 25, I probably spent more money than anybody in my family. Wow. I had no clue. I thought you make money, you spend it. And I'm telling everybody else what to do, but I think because I'm making more money, it doesn't apply to me.
Right.
And I learned, really rapidly, as the industry started to shift and dip, that I needed to do something different and I needed to take my own advice. And that's when I really got intentional about fixing my own situation and then helping other people fix theirs. But every time someone would come in my office, they would say, well, you see, what had happened was, I co-signed for my cousin and he never paid the car note.
Right.
And my credit is now bad. And so I decided to write a book, called the book What Had Happened Was. But it was about 4 characters that lived in a town called Reality, somewhere between perfect bliss and rock bottom, similar to the place where you and I live. And too good to be true. It was just to get by, D. Joneses, and couldn't care less. And they were all trying to get a special deal. And the special deal was freedom, the ability to live out your dreams, to answer your questions or what you've been waiting for. So it showed what different characters would or wouldn't do to get something they considered to be special. And someone from CNN got a hold to the book, and they liked it. And about a week later, they called me on, had me on the air. And I loved doing it. It was natural. I had already been teaching and educating. And it was just like the natural step. It wasn't, about the camera. It was the fact about I got an opportunity, a platform, now to share this information that I know with other people. And that was 6 years ago.
But how did it feel your first time on CNN? Were you nervous? Did you feel like you were ready to step onto that global stage?
I didn't think about it as a global stage. That's what's probably funny. I just thought about it as I had already done little interviews, I had done a lot of workshops. So for me, speaking in front of 500 people, that was a little bit more nerve wracking than sitting, with a camera and Tony Harris, who did my first interview on CNN. So it was like, I'm just talking to Tony. We're having a conversation. He made me feel real comfortable, and he wanted to know the information that I knew. So I shared it, and it came off really smooth. And, it wasn't like I planned it and practiced forever, but it worked, and they liked it. And so they would start calling me back, every other month, once a month. And then they gave me my own segment, after a few months of doing it.
After a few months?
Yeah, after a few
So
months of
pretty
doing it,
quickly.
they gave me my own segment. And the economy was first called Homeschool. And I would come on there every weekend and with TJ Holmes and Betty Wynn. And I would do these homeschool segments where it was like, I'm schooling you, you're at home, and I'm schooling. This is what we're going to talk about. So we talk about home loans, we talk about personal loans, credit. And then it expanded when the economy shifted. I started doing more stuff on foreclosure. I started doing stuff on small businesses. And then they gave me a little bit more freedom to go out and interview different small businesses. So I've had the time to go out and, talk to the guys over at Scout Mob and how they began the business and what they did to grow. And I like diving into, the inner workings of business. So this whole journey was happening, and I'm not thinking about it as anything else because I'm still doing mortgages. So I wasn't thinking about, yes, I'm this media personality, or here I am, this guy talking finance. And I think it didn't really even hit me, the fact that it wasn't many people that looked like me on TV talking about money. And I just did it. This is what I just did. And so that's when I needed to do something more, I went to social media instead of, the traditional or finding a PR person first. And I knew that didn't work. So let me try something different. And I went to social media, and it became my friend.
So I have always admired, since I met you, that you're such a dynamic personality. You're a
Thank
dynamic
you.
speaker. It's great to watch you hosting
Appreciate
an event or presenting. So how did you
Thank
even
you.
develop that skill set where you can own an audience and share a message the way that you do?
It's I think it's just a gift. Sometimes you have certain gifts and talents that are your own, that have been given to you, and it's just a gift. And through practicing it, through doing it, the more I do it, the better I get. Um, and so I think that's what happened for me. And it's the more opportunities. I was blessed to have more opportunities to get in front of 1,000 people or get in front of 500 people. The more I did it, the more comfortable I felt. The more I started to develop who I was. I think that was the main thing for me, is who am I? Because I didn't want to be the money and finance guy. I just wanted to educate people. But it happened to be this was the lane that I was in. And I got good at doing that. And so any opportunity I got, I began to embrace it and said, this is it is going to take me to where I really want to be. And I used it as a stepping stone. And so now it's like, it's natural. So when I hop on a stage, I feel at home. When I get a microphone, I'm at home. And so I want other people that are watching me to feel that same thing. I want them to feel comfortable. I want them to feel like we can engage. And I think that's where, on the social media side, I'm engaging with people. It's not about me just putting some stuff out there. It's about, I want to hear back from you. I want to have some dialogue. Let's have conversation. That's where I thrive on, because I learn things from other people. So, and the things that I learn from you will help me to help somebody else.
Right.
And that's how I look at it.
So you were working in mortgage still, and you were appearing on CNN more and more. At what point did you think, I need to make a leap and just do what I'm doing full time?
It took a minute. I knew the mortgage industry was changing, so I knew I had to get out of the mortgage business. I had written a book, I'd sold, and when I wrote the book took off because I was in the mortgage business. I had real estate agents that started buying them by the boxes and giving them to their clients. And so I guess I need to back up just a little bit. So when I got the idea to write the book, I decided to start a publishing company. And so I really wanted to give the book to my clients, because I kept hearing them say it, and I was like a tape recorder, saying the same things over and over. And I felt like I was carrying them home on my back, because I couldn't help them today. I could have helped them if they would have came to me 12 months ago to get ready. So I decided to start a publishing company, and the publishing company was called Pair of Mind Publications. And my whole idea was to help a mind. And our motto was a shift in thinking. And so I put the book out. We published it. I researched the industry about 12 months while I was writing the book. And after that, it just took off. Real estate agents started buying it. And so in that process of me kind of taking that and saying, this is what I'm going to do, it was kind of that venture that, I didn't know what I was going to start when I came out of college. That was my first really, entrepreneurial venture out of college, my publishing company, to be able to do that and to build that and to grow it. And then, so I've kept the publishing company. We've published several, our authors since then. But that was the thing that sort of got me in there. And so as I knew it was time to get out of the mortgage business, I started focusing a little bit more on the publishing side. But also, Mayor Shirley Franklin was looking for someone to start a program to help with affordable housing. And that's all I had done my whole mortgage career was affordable housing. And so I went on to help her create a bond program to help people move into the city of Atlanta. And so I learned the other side more of creating bond deals and structuring bond deals. And we would give like $20,000 to people that wanted to buy houses in the city. And we did that. I managed that program with the Development Authority for about 2 years. And then I got the push again of it was time to go and do something different. And I always tell people it's almost like I felt like I was being pushed off a building. But I couldn't see a net. I couldn't see anything. And it was time to go. And so I took the leap, jumped off from there, started my own consulting company. And my company is Financial Life Connection. We first started off doing consulting. And we would consult with different housing authorities and municipalities and help them create programs. Stuff that I was comfortable doing. I knew it already. I was the expert in it. And I think that's what I realized. I know something, that everybody just doesn't know. And so we consulted other organizations like Atlanta Neighborhood Development Partners. And we did that for a while. And then I realized that I was still in my comfort zone. It was comfortable for me. So this is where I was kind of hiding out.
Right.
It was cool. And then I really decided probably 3 years ago, actually, to take the full leap and just become a full-time entrepreneur. And that's when it began to happen. It was a rough road, but it happened.
So how did you develop that willingness to really finally step outside of your comfort zone and go on your own as an entrepreneur?
Been tired of just saying I want or I need to. I feel like I need to. And you get tired of it at some point. You're like, okay, why am I not doing it? I had a manager when I was in mortgages, and in mortgages, I'm a salesperson, so you need to be out selling during the day. I would be in the office bogged down with work. I had to do so much, paperwork and fixing credit, and he would say, what are you doing in the office? And I said, well, as soon as I do this, I'm gonna, go out and make some sales calls. And he said, is this what you want them to put on your tombstone? Here lies Clyde, he was going to. And that stuck with me, and it just stuck. And I said, no, that's not what I want. And so anytime I think about waiting till later or putting it off, I'm like, just do it. If you feel it's right, this is what you're supposed to do. As long as you got some sort of plan in place, jump.
So what has been the most challenging part of your experience since you've taken that leap?
Most challenging part? Wow, I guess there's several. Because, one of the things I learned from George Frazier, we were sitting having a conversation once, a networking guru, and he said, it's easier to be oppressed than it is to be free.
Wow. Can you say that again for us?
It's easier to be oppressed than it is to be free.
Wow.
And he told me that's why Harriet Tubman carried a gun. And he said it wasn't for the slave owners, it was for the other slaves.
Wow.
Because you're trying to take me from my comfort zone. You're trying to take me somewhere that's foreign to me. Where are we going? I know this evil, but I don't know the other evil. I don't know what's waiting for me on the other side. And so I think that's the thing that holds a lot of us just sort of captive is I'm comfortable. So comfort, is the cousin of death, because you get so comfortable, you don't want to move to that next place where you're really supposed to move.
Right. I've heard the only difference between a rut and a grave are the dimensions.
Ah, I love that. That's true. That's true. And the other thing is, as you're talking about the grave, they say that's where the most valuable real estate is in the cemetery, because that's where all the songs that were never written or the books that were never written go to die.
Yeah.
And it's like everyone's waiting on that perfect moment where there's never going to be a perfect moment. So for me, the hardest thing was going through and doing things that I thought would work and didn't work. And so it was failing, but it was a good failure because it moved me further. I saw what didn't work. So I know where I need to go and retweak or recalibrate things. But it was hard because you go through those periods where you didn't have money, when you thought you had enough stacked up to take care of you on this journey, but you didn't realize it was going to take so long.
Right.
And so you get to the point where you've invested all you have into this mission, and your people are looking at you like, how much longer are you going to do this? How much longer are you going to, wait or do what you're doing until it happens? And that's one of those hard questions that you have to answer when you're chasing your dream. How long is long? How long is too long? At what point do you say, no, this is not for me, I'm going to just go get a job?
So how have you answered that question for yourself so far?
I think the way you answer for your question is yourself is measure the plan. When you have a plan, it's like setting smart goals. They're specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time sensitive. So you got to be able to measure your milestones. And if you're not making milestones, you need to go back quickly and really recalibrate and look at what's wrong, what's missing, what's good, what's bad. And I think that's when we don't do that enough. When we tend to go so long and just push, 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 when we may be doing something that's not going to work for us. But it could have been just one little shift that would have made it work for us. But if we're not going back to evaluate what we're actually doing, then you're not going to see it. So I think that's the thing now where I tell people, make sure the plan is tight. And the plan is always going to have to be changed, but you don't know what needs to be changed until you jump into it. It's like reading something in a book. You don't know how to really do it until you do the work.
Right.
I can study all I want to, but until you jump out here and actually do it, you don't know.
Okay, so you've got to jump in and just do it.
Got to jump in and just do
there,
it.
right?
And you do. And you got to grow wings on the way down. You have to jump, hope you can fly. And if you don't have wings, you grow them on the way down.
I love it.
And I think that's the best way to look at it. And you can't be scared, to take a risk, but you want to make a calculated risk. Don't take stupid risk. A lot of times we take stupid risk instead of taking calculated risk, where it would have been so much smarter just to have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't take the right type of risk. And I think you've just got to have it calculated. Once you have it calculated, of course, any plan's going to need to be changed, but you know that this is the plan and we're going to stick to it.
Right. So you've got to stick to a plan and find what your passions are and how you can really serve others. That's what you're about doing.
And you have to. And it's all about serving others. I learned early on that service is the price I pay, to breathe. If we're not serving, you're just taking up space. So my whole thing was, when I started, it wasn't about getting paid. It was about giving me a platform. Let me talk to the people. Let me tell the people, what they need to know or what I think they should know. So it wasn't about, I would write for free. I would go and speak for free. And people probably thought I was crazy. But I learned that you give it away. It's not mine anyway. This gift was been given to me. So if I give it away, it's going to come back twofold. And that's what began to happen.
Building that platform has led you to paid opportunities.
Oh, exactly.
How do you go from speaking for free, writing for free, giving content away, to getting to a point where you're getting compensated for your work?
Mm-hmm. Supply and demand. Supply and demand is the easiest way to look at it. You give it away for free until the point where you can't give it away for free anymore, meaning that it's too much. The demand becomes too much on you. Everybody's pulling at you and they want free stuff. So then you just put a price tag on it, and it slows down some of that because it's going to weed out the people that won't pay. So now you got people that are willing to pay that first, introductory price. Did I say that right? Yeah.
Introductory.
Yeah, introductory. Thank you. You pay that first introductory price, and you got the people that are willing to pay it. And then as supply and demand again, so you get to a point now where everybody's like, okay, I can pay that. And then you're like, oh, it's time to move the price up again. And then you move your price up again. And then that's what it keeps. It's a continuation. It goes on and on to the point where you say, I've got friends still look at me now and say, you're not charging enough for speaking. And they're out there on the circuit making 10,000 or whatever they're making. And they say, you need to go up. And I have to feel it. I have to know when it's time to have a price increase. But you get to the point where I can't take all these dates. Right. And so they're willing to pay me this rate for all these dates. What happens if I raise my price? Are you still willing? Or does it now weed off some more of the people? And I think that's a business model. It's it's one of it works in any sort of business. If you're looking at supply and demand, it's a principle that stood the test of time, and it works.
So one benefit of that to you is you can manage your time better because you're not having to deal with so many clients who want more from you.
Exactly.
And you have the bandwidth to provide.
Exactly.
And how did you go about setting your rates when you first thought, I need to charge for this?
Right.
What did you research? How did you figure out what that number was going to be?
And I think that's one of the hard things to do because you can kind of look at other people and benchmark and see where they are and have an idea of where you want to be. But one of the things I teach and I tell people is you got to decide what your rate is. How much are you worth? How much is an hour of your time worth? And so I first go into that and I set my hourly rate. And I knew what my hourly rate was for consulting and coaching. And I said, okay, well, let me look at it for speaking. What's all involved with speaking? How long does it take me to prepare a speech? How long does it take me to practice it? How long does it take me to get to the place where I'm speaking? How long will it take me? How long will I be there? How long, and you think about all your time. Sometimes we just think about the act of speaking. But if I've got to take a plane there, I got to take a plane back, that's time I'm losing from doing something else.
Right.
So I have to look at that, and that's really how I came about it and said, okay, well, this is the number that I need to compensate me for that time I'm using. And then from there, I think it goes up based on the demand. So when the demand is there, you just got to be aware and see the demand and know that it's there. And hopefully you're getting better in this process. And so because you're getting better, and every speaking opportunity I get, I generally get 2 more speaking opportunities out of it. Because if you're good, people will recognize you.
Right. So One, figure out how much you're worth, how much is each hour of your time worth.
Yes.
Two, how much time will any project take you, and base your rate for that project on that, whether it's speaking or consulting. And three, figure out what the demand is for your service. And as the demand goes up, your prices can go up.
That was good.
Right? Yeah.
That was good. I
Recap
like how you
that for you.
summarized that. Thank you. Thank you.
I love it.
Yeah.
So, Clyde, you have thousands of people connected to you on Facebook and Twitter. How did you build that audience from zero to where you are right now?
That's funny. I just went back and looked at that. Twitter just added a feature where you can have your archives sent to you. They'll send you all your tweets. And I think I've done probably about 22,000 or so tweets. I probably got about 18,000 followers. And I remember when I got on Twitter, and it was so intimidating seeing all these people, with all these followers, and I had, 100.
Yeah.
And starting to build up from there. And I think it was just being consistent and knowing that I was available. I'm here. So let me share, segments from my CNN appearances. Let me share things I'm thinking about, and then let me talk. So let me not just throw these out here and walk away. Let me see who wants to talk and who wants to engage. And so I was diligent about setting time to do it. I knew that every day I'm going to be on here for an hour. And whether that's 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there, I would find the time, and I would make sure it was carved into my day. And I do something I call follow the leader. And I don't know if a lot of people are doing it, but follow the leader to me is I follow leaders in my industry. And then I start following the people that follow them. Generally, if they're doing something similar or what I'm doing, then they're going to be attracted to, if they like what this guy's talking about or this lady's talking about or this website, then you're generally going to like some of the stuff I'm talking about because I'm in that same family. This is what I talk about, finances or debt management or credit. And I began to do that, and I began to just go out and find other people that were following these, and I would do different hashtags and find out who's talking in the entrepreneurship hashtag. What are they talking about? And I would begin to follow some of those people. And it just began to, go. I get the opportunity definitely to, be able to have my Twitter on CNN when I'm on CNN, which helps a lot as well. And those things. And when I'm speaking, and with books, especially any sort of intellectual property, when you have a platform and you're able to go speak, the money's not necessarily made in the bookstores or even online. It's made in the back of the room. So when I finish speaking, I have my products here, but I'm also able to sell where you can find me, where you can follow me, my website, my Twitter, my Facebook. This is where you can connect with me on my regular page or my fan page. These are all these opportunities to be able to connect. And so I use it and make sure anytime I'm talking, anytime I'm on the radio, people know where you can find me. And that's began to build, and more people would tell other people, and then they would, say this is who you need to follow. And Friday Follow became getting, 20 or so Friday Follow messages.
Right.
And then I started getting listed on, the top so many tweeters in Georgia. I think I'm in top 100. I'm number 50.
Nice.
In Georgia. So you begin to get things like that, and I think you get other opportunities from that because people then look at these lists and wonder, well, I want to build my Twitter following. How did he do it?
Right.
And they begin to follow you to get that information.
So be consistent about it. You have
Yes.
to make time to get on Twitter, on Facebook on a regular basis.
Yes.
Share value, provide information about what you know that people might be interested in.
Exactly.
Connect with people who are going to be interested in what you're sharing. So find people who are following other similar businesses or individuals and follow them, connect with them.
There you go.
But also use multiple platforms to spread the word. So it's not just about being on Twitter or Facebook. If you're speaking, let people know to follow you online. If you've written a book or you have a website, you're on TV, use all those opportunities to let people know about your online presence, right?
Everything that you have, use it. Use your cousin down the street if you have to. Whatever you got to use, you use it. And you use what you have to get what you want. And that's the reality of it. And so a lot of times we don't realize that we're sitting on assets. And, our relationships, our time, our knowledge, the things that we already know are assets. And so you just got to know how to use those assets to leverage it to get what you want to get.
Wow, so it's about identifying the skills you have, packaging yourself as a professional, experienced person in these fields, and then monetizing it.
That's it. I'm going to take you around with me so you can
do
do that everywhere.
We do that.
Yeah, we can do that.
I fill up my social calendar.
There you go. I like it.
So let's go to homeschool, Clyde.
Yes.
What are the basic things you recommend for people who have bad credit or just want to improve their credit? What are some basic steps that we should all be taking?
First is pull it. Look at it. Most
Okay.
people don't even look at their credit. In Georgia, you can pull it twice a year for free at annualcreditreport.com.
Is that a real site? Is that legit?
That's the only legit.
Okay.
The only site that I recommend that gives you your credit report for free.
So
Annualcreditreport.com. They don't give you a score, but they will give you the report. And so that's the most the meat. You want to know what's on there, what's being reported about you. The next thing, is to kind of explore it and get with someone that understands credit. And you want to know what's on there that's real and not real. A lot of the stuff on there is erroneous. It's not really, you. It could be mixed up. One of the things, they pull credit by name before they pull it by social, meaning the TransUnion, Experian, Equifax, they're using your name. So if you've got the same name, if I'm Junior, they may be pulling my dad's credit and merging it with mine, and it's not some of my information. And so you want to make sure all the information is correct. And if it's not, you want to start disputing it. And it's a 30-day dispute process. And if they cannot prove that it's yours, it has to come off. So you want to start doing that. That's the beginning, the basis to understand, or to take control of your credit. And then there's some things that may be right, and you just got to figure it out. Are there things that I want to pay off? Are there things that are going to come off? It's been 7 years, so I need to dispute them and make sure, hey, this needs to come off because it's old. So it's a whole process that you have to go through, but looking at it is the first step. That's where I think we truly begin. And I tell people another step of even just getting your finances to begin to build. I do what's called a bank statement bio. And your bank statements don't lie. They tell you truly where you put value in the last 12 months. I can look at your bank statements for the last 12 months and tell what you value most.
By what you're
What you're
spending
spending.
money on.
What you're spending. And I can always find money in your budget. I can always find money where you say, I don't have money to save, or I don't have money to do something. I can generally go into someone's, information and figure out where they're paying in fees. Well, you paid $200, $300 in fees. Whether it was bounce checks, whether it was, bank fees or whatever it was, and find an alternative or a different way to structure it, to make it work for them. But that's it. You got to take your own information and realize, what am I doing? What do I need to change? But that goes back to the who am I, where am I, and where do I want to be? And that's why, I consider wealth to be the wisdom to establish assets and leverage the harvest. So you have to be wise enough to know who I am, and where I want to go. And then why do you even want to get there? And the why has to be bigger than the paycheck, because it gets old real quick.
Wow.
Right now it may seem like, well, I just want the paycheck. But your why? Why am I doing it? Why do I get up early? Why do I stay up late? Most people haven't discovered their why. And so they're willing to hop around to different things.
So what is your why, Clyde?
My why. And my why is my wife and my children. I want them to have things that I didn't have. I don't want them to have to struggle as much as I did and really find the path on their own. I don't want them to have to do that or wait to find the path. And so I want my kids to be empowered. I want 4 different opportunities for them. And my wife is my partner, and so she's helped me build all these things. And I definitely want to make sure she has things that she needs. And so that's my why. That keeps me going. That's what keeps me motivated. But also just the opportunity to be able to empower other people. Iron sharpens iron. So one man sharpens another. So the things that I'm giving back, the things that I'm able to do for other people, ultimately it helps everyone.
Right.
So everybody's benefiting. So it's not about me. It's so much bigger than me. Like I say, the gift that I have is a gift. It's just that. And so you get a gift, you're able to use it. And so I want to use it. And I want to make sure that people understand that you don't have to give up hope, And it sounds cliche sometimes. You say, it's not necessarily just keep hope alive.
Right.
But hope, once you lose hope, you lost everything. And most people now, because of the economy and what's going on, have lost hope. And I want to show people that there's a different way. And so I want them to not give up on themselves or the situation just because it's rough right now. Because it's going to be rough a lot of times, but it's not impossible. And there's so many examples of people that have overcome different circumstances or situations. You want to look at yourself and say, why can't I do the same thing?
That's so powerful.
Yeah.
It might be that you're going through a rough time, and it can be hard, but it's not impossible for you to get through and get to a better place. And so if people who are out there who are really struggling, they're busy, they're working, they're tired, and they don't know what their why is, how do you recommend people go about discovering that for themselves?
Use my program.
Okay.
No, I've created a program called Fundamental Wealth Principles. And we do one called Life on Purpose. And I do another one called Financial Success Plan. And then we have one that's Entrepreneurship Strategies. That shows you how to fill in the gaps in your life. Financial gaps, because first you got to identify where the gap is. Most people don't know where their gap is.
Right.
So your gap could mean that I'm just short $1,000 a month. I'm short $500 a month. But when I go in and look at it, we can find out where that gap is. So once we know where the hole is, the leak is, we can plug it. So let's plug in and figure out now how can we build back up. And so we show them how to do that, but show them how to uncover their purpose. Once you know your purpose, Yeah, a lot of times you can look at what you're passionate about and will lead you right into your purpose. And we miss it sometimes because we don't pay attention to that. So I think that's the first place is to discover your why, is to look at what's my purpose. Why am I even here? Am I here to just take up space? Or am I here to pay the price, for this being service? And what type of service is that? And what does that look like for you? What does it look like for your life? It's asking yourself questions that a lot of us haven't asked. It's interesting. I get in front of a crowd of, especially young men. I was speaking to a group of young men at a college at University of Missouri. And I said, who are you? And most of them looked at me like a deer in the headlights because no one had ever asked them who they are. And so it's just questions that a lot of times we just don't, get asked. And so we don't know, and we haven't really explored them and had the time to just really think about it and say, okay, what is my why am I getting up and wanting this job every day? Why am I putting up with this? Majority of people want to quit the jobs that they have.
Yeah, they do.
And Monday is the roughest thing. The most heart attacks and strokes happen on Sunday night because people are so, this anxiety builds up. And I don't really want to go in there, but it goes back to it's easier to be oppressed than it is to be free, because freedom comes with a price. Are you willing to pay the price for freedom? Or are you just cool with being oppressed and knowing I'm going to get paid for it?
Yeah, it's a tough decision for a lot of us.
It's
We're
rough.
comfortable with our 9 to 5s and happy with our paychecks.
Right.
We're willing to live for the weekends and live it up for 2 days or a week and then go
start
back
coming
to the
back down
grind.
on Sunday.
Yeah.
And it's been the most liberating thing for me. And like I say, it doesn't come without sacrifice. I've sacrificed a lot of things to be able to do what I am able to do, to not get that way on Sunday, because I'm excited about tomorrow. I'm excited what Monday's going to bring, or what I get to do on Monday, or what I get to do on Tuesday, or the project I'm working on. I got a new project starting up this week, or those things I'm excited about. So to me, that's what I feel like life is supposed to be about. So it doesn't mean you got to quit your job, because you may be in a job you love.
Right.
Doesn't mean that, but do what you love to do, and don't feel like I'm in prison, and this is how I got to go through life. That's not how it was meant to be.
So if you're wondering what your purpose is, ask yourself, who am I? Find your passions and use that to lead to your purpose. Find the gaps in your income, in your life, and plug them in, and then start building up from there.
You're good. You are good.
And Clyde, so what's next for you? What's coming up next? What are you working on now?
Wow. Financial Life Connection, we're doing consulting. We consult a lot of small businesses, and we do coaching. So I coach entrepreneurs, small business owners. We got some exciting companies that we're working with. A lot of people have great concepts, great ideas, but they just don't have the people around them to help them to go ahead and execute it. And I love to execute, so I love to help people execute. So we're doing a lot of that. We got some new authors coming out as far as on the publishing company. We're releasing a new program, the Fundamental Wealth Principles program we're rolling out. We were doing a couple things with different churches. I'm going back to Detroit, which is home where I started my tour last year. And we're working with different organizations, and because it's rough, up there right now for a lot of people, they don't see, or they've lost hope. And so we're going back to restore some hope and doing that. So we've got the tour kicks back off in February. So we're excited about that. I'm really excited. We got some cool projects that we're working on, some other ventures, and I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I just love starting and building things, and looking at things and figure out how they work. How to dissect. So, we're doing some good stuff. I write, so I ghost write for a lot of people. And so I'm writing 2 books, I think, right now for other people. We just finished one and doing a workbook. And so I'm doing what I love to do, and at the same time making time for my family. And
How do you
doing
find
some
time
cools
for
with
all of
that.
it?
It's a balance, and true balance doesn't really exist. And so I want to get that out the way. It doesn't really exist because everything weighs different. My family weighs different than a project or a speaking opportunity. So it depends on where you put your priorities and your value. What do you value most? And you got to find the time, even when you're tired. It's times where I'm tired. I don't want to play with my kids, but it's Barbie time. I got 3 daughters, and so it's time to play Barbies. And we hit the Barbie Corvettes, and we're rolling, or we're doing whatever we need to do, or we're riding bikes. And like even today, my family dropped me off, and they're going to do something else, and they're going to come back and get me. And so you try to, make them a part of the whole process and engaging, them in the process, make them feel like, they're not separate from you. We're all one. And that's why I call my company Financial Life Connection, because you can't live separate than your finances. So you have to figure out the way to make them intertwine and work together. I can't budget over here and live over here.
Right.
My life is my money. My money is my life. It's a part of it. I couldn't leave the house today without spending some money, whether it's gas,
Ain't that the truth?
putting on some clothes, eating, you're going to spend it. So we got to be realistic. That's why it's crazy that we don't have the conversation more, because money is like water to our lives. You know, my body is made up of, what is it, 80%, 90% water. I think finances are probably a little bit more.
Wow. So for those of us who want to keep in touch with you online, where can we go to follow you, to learn more, to stay in touch?
True. You can go to my website, ClydeAndersonOnline.com. Again, that's ClydeAndersonOnline.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Clyde Anderson. You can follow me on Facebook at Clyde Speaks. And you can email me at info@thewealthmovement.com. Info@thewealthmovement.com. So we just wrapped up. We're just finishing Change 21. It's been an exciting journey, and we call it Journey to Freedom. It was a free program, had about 150 people go through it. We started off on Twitter, and we signed people up towards the end of last year. So it's been the first 21 days of this year. And, you know, they say it takes 21 days to form a habit.
Right.
And so we took 21 days and kind of dealt with the mindset. It's not so much about the pockets first, it's dealing with the thoughts. Before I do anything, I think about it first. Before I move my hand, I think about it. Before I open my mouth, I thought about it. Even though it happens in a split second, I thought about it. And so I try to show people how to discipline their thoughts. And that came from, I learned at the Harvard School of Divinity, they teach discipline of thought before they teach doctrine. And so that means any priest, pastor, clergyman, or whoever you are, you need to learn how to develop or get the mind ready to receive the message before you just give a message. And most people have not prepared their minds or disciplined their thoughts to get those, what I call foul thoughts, out of the way, to start thinking positive thoughts and purposeful thoughts.
Wow.
So that's what we're working on.
Change your mind, change your life, and then change your wealth, right?
There you go. I love it.
And so you have a lot of products, a lot of projects. How do you come up with them and then take them from idea to doing it?
That's probably been a hard thing for me, because I'm a visionary. I see things, I see the big picture. So I have to surround myself around with people that are detail oriented. I have to surround myself with people that say, okay, well, stop. Let's figure out how to take this from here. I love to be a part of the process. But it's about just doing it, so, you know, executing. I met a guy named Peter Daniel, who's a billionaire, United Kingdom, and Peter told me, do it now, do it now, do it now. He just kept saying that. This is what he tells himself. And then, you know, it's one of those almost like an affirmation or things that you want to repeat to yourself. So when I think about putting it off to later, I hear him saying, do it now, do it now. And so I just do it. I started doing it, and I've always been creative. So I love to build things. And so when I get an idea, I either record it and write it down, and then I take it and develop an outline for it. What is it going to really look like developed out? Once I see that outline, then I find the people that I need to help me pull it together and do what I can. I take it all the way to the point where I can't take it anymore. And then I find the other people. And I think that's the collaboration comes in. A lot of us want to keep things so close, and we want to try to do everything, and we can't do everything. And we weren't created to do everything. You know, no man is meant to be an island. We can't work in a silo. We can't operate alone. And so we have to make sure we know how to collaborate and connect with other people. And that's where that connectivity piece comes in, to make sure that we got the team around us that can make it happen.
Right, a lot of us just we're so afraid to reach out for help. We just want to do it, and we never end up doing anything.
There you go. That's it. And we want all the money. You know,
all the credit,
we
all
want
the
all the
glory.
money, all the credit, all the glory.
So we get none of it.
There you go. And that's why I learned early on that 50% of something is better than 100% of nothing. And so I'll take 50% any day.
Right, so write your ideas down, think of the big vision, take it as far as you can take it on your own, and build a team to help you get to the next step, right?
That's it. That's it.
So, yeah.
We aren't going to go on the road with that.
We are, you and me.
You and me, we got this. We got it.
And then you've had a great career, right? Yeah. What is the best advice that you've been given that you want to share with our audience?
Wow. I think it's so much. One of the things that stuck with me, there's a couple of things that stuck with me. I had a chance to hang out with a radio personality, Ryan Cameron, earlier. And Ryan, one of the things I learned years ago from Ryan is that when his kids say, I can't, he makes them say, I can 10 times. I can. And I started doing that with my own kids, and it works. It truly works. Now when they think about saying I can't, they know that they're going to have to say I can 10 times. So before they were so quick to say, well, I can't do this, that. We don't say can't. Can is not a word we're saying. And I learned something similar from Lisa Nichols. One day we were together, and she said, try to pick up my bag, because I said I was going to try to do something. And I went to pick it up, and I said, I can't try to pick it up. She said, right. You either do or you don't. And so I stopped saying try. It's one of those words I try to eliminate. I do eliminate. See, you have to catch yourself. But once it becomes conscious, you're conscious about it. So I don't want to say try. I don't want to say I can't, because you believe what you say. You are who you say you are. One of my favorite quotes is from Muhammad Ali, where he said, I'm going to start telling people that I'm the greatest of all time, and eventually they'll start believing it. And now to this
They
day,
do.
he's known as the greatest of all time. He'll go down the history books. It wasn't because somebody else said that's who he is. It's because he told you, I'm the greatest of all time.
So you got to tell it to yourself first and
Say
claim it.
and believe it. Claim it, believe it, and walk in that thing.
Great. So,
Yeah.
well, thank you all for tuning in with us today. This has been Clyde Anderson. And you know that thing you've been putting off? Just do it, right?
Do it.
And be sure to tune in next time for the next episode of Digital Diversity.